Yeah. So once again, welcome back to the session on the art and science of joyful living. So, so we have discussed like, see, in our human life, being joyful and happy is happening at discrete levels. Means only at certain intervals we are witnessing this joyfulness. So whenever something good happens, we feel good. Otherwise, we feel bad. So most of the time, we are getting affected by the negativity that is around us. So, but this was not the case in our childhood. But in childhood, we used to be joyful most of the time because our essential nature was a playful nature. We used to be very playful during our childhood, but as we are growing, we started taking life very seriously, and that is the reason why things have become so grim in our life. So, what we need to do is, as human beings, we should not leave our childhood. In the sense, we should still be very playful all the time. So if you're actually in a playful mode, you will not take anything very seriously, and that's how you can be in joyful mode forever. So the inner urges, if they are in excess, that is when the real pain starts. So non-fulfillment of these inner urges will lead to painful negative emotions. So for that reason, what we need to do is we need to moderate, we need to control all these inner cravings. So that is how we can actually liberate ourselves from the pangs of negative emotions. Okay, this is what we have learned during the previous sessions. So the first technique is never compare yourself with other people. So this is one of the reasons why many people actually have a lot of depression in life because they will continuously evaluate their life against some reference point. So it could be your own siblings, it could be your colleagues, it could be some friends in the neighborhood. We are always continuously comparing our life with other people's life. And because of that, we are thinking, okay, we are not doing well in our life. So look at your neighbor, they have very good car, but you don't have a good car. Then that is when you're actually feeling that, okay, you're not doing well in life, though your life is good. So we are continuously measuring ourselves with other things and we are feeling miserable. So the best strategy is not to compare yourself, your life with other people. Your life is only your life. And even within your life, whatever exists inside the mind and whatever exists outside the mind, if they are not similar, there is going to be some kind of conflict, inner conflict. You feel agitated. In order to get away from that kind of feeling, what you need to do is you need to reduce your expectations to minimum level and accept the reality what is existing. So the moment you start accepting the reality, then the pain in your mind will start growing down. It will start moving down. So it's very important that you reduce your expectations to minimal level and at the same time accept the reality as it is. As I told you last time, reality for us, the physical makeup is a reality. So you never go and question a person why you are looking so dark, why you're looking so fair, why you are looking so tall, why you are looking so short. We don't question them because we take them for granted. These are the physical traits that which they are born with. Similarly, our inner personalities also have this kind of rigid makeup. So some people have different qualities. So when we expect them to behave the way we expect them to behave, that is when there is going to be contradiction or conflict, and that is how people will have some kind of problem with other people. So start accepting people the way they are. Okay, so that is what is about mind without measure. And then we talked about the soul versus ego perspective. Soul is the hub of all negative, sorry, ego is the hub of all negative emotions, and soul is the hub of all positive emotions. So when you are actually operating from ego perspective, you will bombard the world with negative emotions, and in turn you get the negative emotions back. But when you start working from the perspective of soul, you will be actually having all the positive emotions, and that is how your behavior is going to be harmonious with other things. So that is about soul perspective and ego perspective. Then we discussed that the world is nothing but an illusion, a Maya, and in this illusion, we are all actors. We are here for a brief spell of time. We are not eternal beings here on earth. So we don't have to take life so seriously. We have to take life as a play. And that is how the intensity of emotions that we encounter will get diminished and you can actually feel liberated. So most of the time, what happens is most of the people they take life so seriously, and then because of the circumstances, people tend to become so emotional. So we really don't have to get so emotional because everything in this world is changing continuously and constantly, and there is nothing which is at stillness. Even the problems that we are thinking that we are having now, they are going to pass off. Everything is going to just move away from our life. So we really don't have to worry about the problems that we are having. Just when you are in stuck up with some kind of problem, just wait. Let the currents of change take place. They will go off. So then you will be able to stay positive in your life. Then we talked about the dream versus wakeful state. So we said that wakeful state is as illusionary as a dream state, and dream state is equally illusionary as a real state. So we need to understand this principle in order to be undetached to the things that are happening across in our life. So then we talked about the power. We are all born with immense power, but unfortunately, we don't use our power. Instead of using the power, we actually give the power to other people and ask them to operate our remote control. So now mentally we are totally dependent on the external world. If somebody comes and praises, we feel good. Somebody comes and actually passes a negative remark or makes something bad, we tend to feel depressed. So in this context, what we said is we need to actually use the power that we have got. So in this, we have talked about four stages. Stage one, we are totally at the mercy of the outer world. In stage two, we filter off negative signals. In phase three, we filter both negative and positive signals. And in the fourth phase, we use our inner power to change the world around us. So that is what we have talked about. And then we talk that whatever reality that we are witnessing is nothing but a fabrication of our own thoughts and feelings. So many people have so many ideas about how reality is created. Some people think that destiny means somebody up there, like God, is actually writing our story and allowing us to actually play that role. So that is what some people believe. Some people believe that our karmas are actually leading. So there is truth that karmas are actually creating our life. But in reality, the most important thing that we need to understand is our thoughts and feelings are the one which are creating our reality. So if you want to create a good reality, you have to create good thoughts and good feelings instead of indulging in negative thoughts. You cannot expect a beautiful life, a positive life, when you are actually indulged in negative thoughts. By indulging in negative thoughts, you cannot create a positive life. A negative thought will only create a negative world, a negative life. So, what is very important here? So, whatever suffering you're having now, whatever misery you're happening, or rather witnessing now, it could be about money, it could be about your health, it could be about your family life, your social life. It's all the fabrication of your thoughts and feelings at one point in time in the past. So the past, the present, and the future are interconnected, and the past is the breeding ground for the present moment, and this present moment is the breeding ground for the future moment. So at least now, if you really want to really enjoy your life, change the thoughts and feelings to create a better future for yourself. Don't run away from the responsibility saying that, no, I'm not responsible for my future. You might say God is responsible or my karma is responsible. So many things you say, but that's not the truth. So even if you have a strong karmic pattern, you still have the power to change your karma. So karma is always showing you the broad highways. So in between, you'll come across some junctures where you can actually take a turn, and then it could lead to a better place. Instead of actually blaming karma for your mishappenings, you take the responsibility. You should understand at every juncture, you're getting opportunities to actually improve your karma and actually progress in a different direction. But unfortunately, you are not exercising your power. So you need to be very cautious in terms of fabricating your reality, because your thoughts are the primary factors that are determining your future. So we talked about T, that is T stands for thought, E stands for emotion, and A stands for action. Thought, emotion, and action are interrelated. Positive thoughts will lead to positive emotions leads to positive actions, and positive actions results in positive results. So you cannot inject a negative thought and expect a positive results to come. So you have to be very cautious in terms of generating your thoughts. We told that on an average, more than 75,000 thoughts are generated in a day. And you have to evaluate what thoughts are these. Are they really useful? Some of the thoughts are positive thoughts, some are negative thoughts. When you are actually coming across a negative thought, you just reject such thoughts, saying that, no, I don't want this. Now, at this moment, you might be sitting and you might be thinking of something, and your thought could be a negative thought. You might be thinking, oh, it might not work out. That's a negative thought. That is not going to help you. You need to immediately say, no, I'm not going to accept this reality. I have a new reality which is waiting for me, and you should replace the negative thought with a positive thought. That is how you can actually change your reality. And then we should make feeling good, feeling joyful, feeling happy a mental habit. So all these emotions are habitual in nature. Some people, they actually prefer to feel negative. Even if everything is positive, they feel delightfulness in indulging in negative thoughts. They won't immediately go back into the past and recall all the sad moments, and then they will look at those sad moments and will start feeling unhappy about it. And that is a regular practice that they do. The more they practice, the more negativity that they are going to attract into their life. Instead of doing that, you should ignore all the negative things that have happened and focus only on the positive things. By continuously repeating on the positivity of life, you tend to develop mental habit, which is always a state of joyfulness. So when you become addicted to joyfulness from within, when you get habituated to be joyful from within without having any dependency on the external events, external people, external situations, your natural state will tend to drift from the neutral zone to joyful state. So if you look at our emotions broadly, we can categorize emotions into negative emotions and positive emotions. So negative emotions are those which are little painful, whereas positive emotions are little pleasant. So under normal circumstance, human mind is in between. It's in an equilibrium state. That is a state where it is peace. There is no excess of pain. There is no excess of pleasure. Both are balanced. So that is the natural state of human mind. Under normal circumstances, in the absence of any external stimuli, our mind is something which is calm, cool, and quiet. This is the state where we call it as a state of peace. So as and when we are interacting with the society, or as and when we are actually indulging in thoughts, depending on the nature of thoughts, depending on the nature of interaction with the external world, your natural state, which is at equilibrium at the peace state, will either move towards this side or towards this side. Towards means towards negative scale or towards positive scale. So if you are repeating it again and again, so slowly the state, the equilibrium state, which is at the middle in the peace state, will move either this side or that side. So if you move towards the negative zone, then under normal circumstances, your natural state would be not the peace, but a negative emotion, either an anger, either a fear, whatever it is. If you practice positivity, your natural state will move from the state of peace to other things like kindness, joy, love, that kind of emotions. So once you get habituated to these positive emotions, it is difficult for you to come back because the kind of experience that you undergo when you are in a positive state of mind is amazing. Like you can never feel like coming back. So this should be the main goal in your life. This is something which you can acquire through continuous practice. So every moment in a day offers us n number of opportunities to cultivate the habit of feeling joyful. It is possible. Every moment offers us a great opportunity to practice. So during your day-to-day interaction, practice kindness, practice compassion, practice tolerance, practice joyfulness. So in life situation, so you're going and suddenly there is a red light signal, then you stop your car and the beggar comes. And most common reaction is everybody just shoo away the beggar saying, no, go away. రాజు ఒంటి గంటకి రా మీటింగ్లో ఉన్నా పర్లేదు yeah. So usual tendencies go away, you lazy fellow, why you're asking. So there you have a choice. Either you can actually shout at the person or you can show kindness and compassion. There's an opportunity. So if you're a person who is conscious about creating joyfulness as a mental habit, you will not shout at the beggar. Instead, you will just talk to the person in a gentle manner. And if you have something to offer the person, you will immediately offer. And you bless that beggar saying that, may God bless you. May you get enough food so that you don't have to beg for food on roads. So you're actually taking an alternative action, like means you have a choice. You can choose to be harsh to the person, shout at him, and refuse to give anything, or with love and compassion, give whatever you can and bless the person with whole heart, saying that the life situation of that person should be improved. So then what you're doing, by practicing generosity, automatically the joyfulness in you is growing up. So anything you do in life, you need to do with lot of love, compassion, gratitude, tolerance. If you start making your life like this, negativity can never enter into your life. So the whole workshop is actually coming to this point. What is that point? You need to operate from the perspective of your soul. So soul, how does it behave? It is behaving from the point of love. Love, compassion, kindness. These are the three things that you need to acquire in your life. You should show a lot of love, concern, kindness, tolerance, compassion to every person that you encounter on this earth. It is not that you're kind only to your son or daughter, to your grandchildren, or to your in-laws or these things. Okay, they are close people to us, but you have to extend it beyond your close family circles. With the peon in your office, with a man on the road, with the beggar, with your housemate, everyone. Start interacting with people from the perspective of kindness and compassion. When you practice kindness and compassion, it is nothing but love. So, whatever you do with love. So, जो भी करो सिर्फ प्यार से करो, जो भी सुनो सिर्फ प्यार से सुनो, जो भी बोलो सिर्फ प्यार से बोलो. So, fill your life with love. Practice love. The moment you start practicing love, the whole universe will converge into one. Because love is a binding force which actually forges all the differences and it will create singularity of the multitude of diversity. So when you start practicing higher forms of love, then you cannot see the discrimination between a human being and an animal. And within the human beings, you will not see the difference. You will not see the difference between your son and the son of other person. You operate from the perspective of kindness and compassion. Means the same treatment you give to all people without discriminating. In this current system, where we are practicing the lower version of love, we are highly discriminatory. Our life is confined only to a small section of people in our life. And that too, it's a vested love. In the sense, it's a love which is a conditional love. If you love me, I will love you. If you don't love me, I will not love you. So this is happening between parents and children. So you say, okay, my son is not loving me, so even I will not love. If he behaves well, I will love him. If he doesn't behave well, I will not love him. Love can never be conditional. This is the first and foremost thing that we need to understand about love. Love can never be discriminatory. You cannot love one person and say that I will hate another person. Love and hatred are mutually exclusive. If you love, if you are filled with love, there is no scope for you to hate any other person. But in the lower version of love, these two coexist. Love and hatred, they coexist. You love somebody and hate other people. Such a contradictory thing. And the same person, you love him for some time, and after some time you will hate him. And after some time you love him. What is this? This is not the true form of love. Love is non-discriminatory. Love is not conditional. So the problem is, we all think that we are beings of love, human beings, we are beings of love, but in reality, we hardly understand what love is all about. Love, as we understand, is best depicted in our movies. Hero, heroine will start looking at each other, they get into physical attraction, and then hero will propose. Initially, heroine will say no. After that, she also fall in love. They will dance for some time. And then after some time, there will be some small misunderstanding, and each will be shouting at each other, I hate you, I hate you. Get lost, break up, break up. That is kiddish love. Because they don't understand what love is. The moment you start moving up in the ladders of love, you'll find everything is one and the same thing. You cannot see any difference between any entities. You love plants, you love animals, you love human beings, you love all these things, you love God as one entity. It's all the emergence from within the heart of God. So when you start practicing love in your practical day-to-day life, you'll start becoming joyful naturally, because these are all one and the same thing. Joyfulness, love, they're all emerging from the same stream of goodness of life. So make this a point that you will never shout at a person in your life again. Make a commitment that you'll never get annoyed with any person, whatever he's doing. Just laugh it off, because everybody is operating according to their own karmic patterns. There's no point in trying to correct other people. Just understand one fact, that we are here to correct ourselves, not the people around us, not to correct the world around us. First and foremost thing is that we are here to correct ourselves. We have not yet reached the stage of perfection. We have not yet reached the shores of perfection. As human beings, even our behavior, our thoughts are still anchored to all these petty things. We are growing, we are evolving. We have not reached perfection. So don't try to control other people. Don't try to correct other people. Correct yourself. You have got infinite opportunities to correct yourself now and here. The way you're thinking is not perfect. The way you're behaving is not perfect. The way you're presenting yourself is not yet perfect. You're still far from the shores of perfection. So what you need to do, you need to accept this particular reality. And then make a commitment saying that I will not indulge in anger. I will not indulge in hatred. I will not indulge in jealousy or envy. I will not indulge in any kind of guilt. I will not indulge in any kind of depression, sadness. Make an affirmation and put your focus on the other side of the spectrum, that is joyfulness, mercy, kindness, compassion, tolerance. We need to acquire those things. To be really joyful in life, we need to acquire these qualities. Our personality should be constituted by these characteristics, not anger, hatred, jealousy. So when you are actually moved to the other side of the emotional spectrum, you're a person who's radiating a lot of gentle, beautiful energy where people would like to come and hug you, or rather, they want to actually get associated with you. So, there is one saying in Telugu, means, will the bird sitting on a burning tree? No. When the tree is burning, no bird will come and sit on the branches of the tree. But if the tree is cool, calm, without any kind of agitation, many birds will come, build the nest and stay there. So if you are an angry bird, if you are an angry tree, if you are boiling, bubbling with a lot of negative emotions, who will come to you? Instead, if you are actually a gentle soul, everybody wants to come and relax under the shades of your branches. So you have to transform yourself. If you want to create joyfulness, happiness in your life, it is not about improving your finances so that you become rich and secure. It's not about buying health and being healthy. It is not about buying people with your money. It is about your inner transformation. You have to transform yourself into a being of absolute kindness and compassion, tolerance. So the best thing is, there is one saying in Bible and even in other scriptures which says that never do anything which you don't want others doing to you. You don't want to be made fun of, so don't make fun of people. You don't want to suffer from any kind of financial problems. Don't rejoice if somebody is having that kind of situation in their life. Many people have the tendency of deriving their joy from the pains of other people, which is a very bad quality. Instead, you should celebrate the success of people around you. If they get a new car, you also appreciate, because in the previous session we talked about law of appreciation and admiration. The moment you start appreciating things around you, your joyfulness is automatically flowing out. It's not only you, everywhere, anything, every day, at least take 1 hour to just indulge in the art, or rather in the act of appreciation and admiration. When you come across a beautiful building, see how beautiful it is constructed. Feel the joy of admiration of beauty. When you come across some clouds passing, appreciate it, enjoy it. You come across some beautiful person moving, appreciate it. Like that, fill your life with a lot of admiration and appreciation. Then automatically the sense of joy is evolving in your heart. So you have to make joyfulness and happiness a mental habit. So this is the key point which you need to understand. And now we are talking about the law of karma, and you all know what karma is, but the degree to which we understand and apply the principles of karma in our life differs. And that's the reason why some people are good karmic managers and or poor karmic managers. So as Indians born in this Hindu religion, most of us, we are very, very aware about the karma. Of course, maybe Western philosophy is not actually having this kind of philosophy. Many people, they don't even remember reincarnation. They believe that there is only one life. After this life is gone, we either go to hell or heaven, depending on our acts, which were actually judged by the supreme authority. So, but the law of karma is something which is very profound, which is always applicable in our life. So, when we say karma, it is wrong to assume that it is only the physical action that is going to create the negative karma or positive karma. We can actually create karma even with our thoughts. For example, if you come across a thought, an evil thought, for example, you have seen your neighbor prospering. So you are becoming jealousy. And then you are making an affirmation saying that this fellow, there should be some income tax right on this guy, or there should be some robbery in this house, so that his profits go down. And nowadays he's acting too smart, so it will teach him a lesson. Some people generate even this kind of thoughts. On the physical level, they'll be doing namaste, saying, hi, very good, yes, yes, but mentally they will be actually indulging in this kind of negative, evil thoughts. So the law of karma is not just confined only to the physical actions, but also it is confined to the mental action. By creating or generating this kind of negative thought, you're actually creating a bad karma for yourself. God knows whether you're going to hurt the person whom you're cursing, but definitely you're cursing yourself. When you're actually generating a negative thought, one positive point, your karmic balance is lost. So if you happen to attend my previous session on karma, law of karma, I used to talk a lot. So I tell that this is not the first time we came onto earth, nor it's going to be the last time. We have been here on earth multiple times in different time zones and in different geographical areas, in different forms. Sometimes as male, sometimes as female, sometimes as other gender, sometimes as a beggar, sometimes as a queen. Like that, we have taken different incarnations just to condition our soul, to understand the totality of life, to understand that other side of life, we have taken several generations, several incarnations. And during all these incarnations, we are actually creating some karma. So at the end of our lifetime, we are carrying all the karmas back to the higher worlds, and then we are depositing these karmas. So whatever we have been depositing during multiple incarnations, those karmas are what we call as sanchita karmas. Means those karmas which we have accumulated over lots of incarnations. So everybody has got a bank deposit, that is karmic bank deposit. So next time when we are coming, we are not getting all the karmas from the accumulated lives. Instead, we are only picking up few of those karmas. And these karmas are what we are carrying while we are coming onto this earth. These karmas are known as prarabdha karmas. Means you have chosen certain karmas to be the basic theme during your incarnation in the current lifetime. So your life situation is actually decided by your prarabdha karmas, those things which you have consciously picked up. So these prarabdha karmas are going to provide the general template for our life. So if you have chosen to pick up certain prarabdha karmas which says that you have to serve people by providing them medical treatment, your destiny is towards becoming a doctor, a medical doctor, or a nurse, or anything which is relating to delivering of health to people in your life. So those are the things which you come. So what I mean to say is certain things within our life cannot be changed. They are derived from the karmic currents. So the main theme you cannot change, but the rest of the things you can change. So with every incarnation, we come with a bag of karmas. And when we come into this world, we actually start generating new karmas or neutralizing the existing karmas. So when we come onto this earth plane, we come with both good and bad karmas. So our life, the quality of life is much dependent on what we have come with. What kind of karmic baggage you have come is what is going to decide. If you have a lot of negative karmas, there is every chance that you're born in a family which actually has the chances or the probability of amplifying the negative karmas. But if you have come with a lot of positive karmas, there is every chance that you are born in a family which actually indulges in the generation of more and more of positive karmas. But it's not that you're stuck up there. Instead, you can actually change the karmic baggage. So during your life, you come across so many situations where you can create a positive karma or negative karma. In fact, as a matter of fact, on a day-to-day basis, during our every day, we are either creating a positive karma or a negative karma without much of our consciousness. Sometimes we are generating positive karma, sometimes negative karma. So every day is actually is having a score of certain amount of positive karma and negative karma. So as you progress in your life, every day you're actually creating a karmic bag, a small amount of karma, which at the end of the lifetime is going to be a big heap of karma, having positive karmas and negative karmas in different proportions. So you, as a human being, you should have the basic objective of neutralizing all your negative karmas and have only positive karmas if you want to have a beautiful life in your life. If today, for no reason, you're suffering and struggling for one thing or the other, it could be a health issue, it could be a wealth issue, it could be a relationship issue, there is an origin in your karmic bank. So you need to overcome it. So karma is something which you cannot really do away, whether we like it or not. We have to undergo the process of karma. Even Avatar Purush like Rama, Krishna, they were not immune. The moment they took the form of human beings, even they had to obey the law of karma. And we know in the Itihasas it was written what kind of problems, karmic problems did Krishna and even Rama had. So whether we like it or not, we are under the constant scanner of karma. You might be thinking nobody is looking, so I'll do this cheating. No, there is an invisible eye which is keeping track of everything that you're doing now. So you should be very conscious. See, it's like an imaginary bank account. So whenever you're doing a good thing, you're adding something to your karmic bank. Means whenever you're doing some good thing, you're adding some good karma to your bank account. And whenever you are doing something bad to yourself or to people around you or to any other thing, then some amount of good karma or whatever is withdrawn. So day to day, we are continuously putting something and withdrawing something. So when we are withdrawing more than what we are putting, what happens is your karmic balance becomes zero and even might touch the negative score. So when your karmic bank is having no balance, then that's when you will start feeling the music of life. Means you will not be able to manifest anything. You will be undergoing a lot of problems in your life. But instead, if you have more of positive karma than that of negative karma, and if you are putting very little of negative karma, means if you are actually not doing any bad things, your withdrawal rate will come down. Means you'll be putting more and more into your bank account and very less is withdrawn. So you have a lot of karmic balance. That is what is known as karmic entitlement. When your karmic entitlement is very high, your financial situation will be very good, your relationship status will be very good, your health status will also be very, very good. So today, if you are having today you are deprived of joyfulness and happiness in your life 24/7 because you don't have that much of karmic entitlement where you can stay joyful 24/7. So for that reason, what you need to do, you need to actually improve your karmic score on day-to-day basis. So start doing as many good things as possible every day. Every day has got opportunity. You can create a lot of positive karma by doing simple things. So if you donate some money to a person, yes, it gives good karma. If you bless the person instead of giving the money, if you just bless the person saying that, okay, I'm sorry, I can't give you now, but I wish your life is good. A simple prayer can give a good karmic result. Like that, if you can take care of people in your life, you can take care of the pets in your life or the stray animals in your life or whatever it is continuously creating positive karma. If you're criticizing somebody, you're generating negative karma and your balance is coming down. You're shouting and yelling at somebody, your karmic account is going down. You're criticizing somebody unnecessarily, commenting about their looks or making fun of them, it is coming down. You are imagining that something should hit someone and then you're rejoicing that moment, again your karma is coming down. Like that, with our mental and physical action, we are dynamically changing our karmic entitlement on day-to-day basis. So now the clue is you want to have more and more of good karma means what you should do. You should do good things on day-to-day basis. It's not that once in a week you go to the temple there, you break a coconut, put harti, and then put 10 rupees, 20 rupees, or 100 or 1000 in the dan pet or hundi and say, okay, I've done good thing. That is not sufficient. You have to do it on a day-to-day basis. Karma is something which has to be managed on day-to-day basis. It's not that once in a year you go to pilgrim, then take a holy dip in river and say, okay, all my paps are gone. It's not that you chant something and say, okay, my negative karma is gone. See, these days, there are many people who are advising, saying that you get rid of this karma, your bad karmas, take a holy dip or go to temple and offer this thing, that thing to God. That is not going to be very helpful. Be practical. Do good karmas on day-to-day basis and abstain from doing negative karmas on day-to-day basis. Every day before you sleep, make sure that you have done some good thing. Not just one thing, but multiple good things during that day. How you can do good things on a day-to-day basis? There are many ways. I don't have to talk about these things. You all know, you're all grown-up adults, you know what is good and what is bad. So that is about karma. So law of karma says, it is in giving that we receive. As we sow abundantly, we reap abundantly. So what karma is saying is, if you're planting a neem seed, expect only that neem tree to come up. Don't expect mango tree to come up. You, especially in India, we have the habit of actually visiting temple once in a while, maybe on one particular day where you fast. And you think that, okay, that's going to be helpful. Yes, to an extent it is helpful, but what is required is going and doing it on regular basis holds the key for generation of positive karma. So this is about law of karma. So be conscious of each and every thought you're generating. Be cautious about your actions. Operate from the perspective of love, compassion, and kindness. So these two things, kindness and compassion, if you start operating from the point of kindness and compassion, you'll be generating more and more of positive karma than that of negative karma. So that is about law of karma. The next thing is, earlier we have discussed two broad strategies. One is creating joy and happiness by detaching our joyfulness with materialistic things, people, circumstances. You have totally detached, and now you're completely focused on being joyful by using the techniques that I have taught you, like mind without measure, operating from the perspective of soul, having the right kind of tea, and using your thoughts and feelings, and being karmically sensible or being aware of your karma. By doing these things, even if you don't accomplish anything, you're actually going and hitting the shores of joyfulness, isn't it? But now I'm going to talk about the other approach where we can be happy by achieving certain things. So certain things can be achieved And when we accomplish these things, we tend to become happy and joyful. So that is actually based on the law of attraction. So most of you might be aware of this law, the law of attraction, which actually says that our thoughts and feelings are creating our reality. That is what is being said. The reactional reality is not grafted or crafted somewhere and brought to you and presented to you. Instead, your own thoughts and your own feelings are actually creating the reality. How it is happening? How it is happening means this is a universal process. So, according to this, everything in this universe is in a constant state of vibration. Everything is vibrating without any exception. So, when you are thinking, you are also feeling. There are certain feelings. So, these feelings are having certain vibrations, they are vibrating at certain pace. So, when you are actually thinking and feeling about something, you are unconsciously radiating some kind of frequency into the universe. And the law of attraction, what it does is whatever you are actually emitting, whatever be the frequency that you are emitting, it will actually attract similar frequencies from the universe and they amplify each other. And that is how a new reality is brought into picture. So, for example, if you are thinking negative, you are vibrating negatively, and these negative vibrations are getting broadcasted into the universe. And the universe, by virtue of the law of attraction, it is again attracting all negative frequency within your this thing zone, and they are resulting in your life in the form of negative people, negative situations, or negative circumstances. So this is a law which is happening every moment in our life, whether we are aware of this or not. This is something which is happening. So sometimes we are creating negative things for us, and sometimes we are creating positive things for us by using this law of attraction. So the responsibility is with you. It's a double-edged sword. You can use the knife to cut the vegetables, or you can use the knife to cut the throat of a person. It's up to you. Law of attraction is also similar. It is also dual in nature. You can use it for a good cause, you can use it for a big purpose, you can use it for a negative purpose also. So, since we are not trying on the law of attraction, we don't know how to use it. So, the law of attraction says always focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. But unconsciously, because of the lack of training, we sometimes tend to focus more on what we don't want in our life. You don't want to have, you don't want to fail on financial front. So stop looking at those things. The very act of focusing is creating the vibrations or enticing the vibrations, and these vibrations are getting broadcasted into the universe and they're actually brought back to us in an amplified manner. So you have to be very careful. Today, if there is suffering in your life, it is because you have been focusing on the suffering unconsciously. If you're having a bad relationship with your spouse, it is because your focus was not right. If your finances are under struggle or under turmoil, it is because you have visualized, you have created that reality for yourself without knowing that you are damaging yourself. So, another key for being joyful and happiness is using the law of attraction to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. So, you have to be very cautious when you are actually using your law of attraction. So this attitude we have discussed even in the previous session. So there are basically four attitudes. The first one is I'm not okay. Basically, you're a cynical person, so you think you're not okay. And you think even the other person is not okay. You say that I'm not okay, you're not okay. So you will never find life beautiful. You're always looking at the negative aspect of it. The another perspective is I'm okay, you're not okay. This is a personality which is having a lot of superiority complex. It always believes that it is the best. Whatever things it is doing, it thinks it is the best. So these kind of people, they always find flaw with other people's behavior, and then they react in that particular manner based on their perception of what other person is. The next perspective is I'm not okay, you're okay. This is a personality with lot of guilt consciousness or underconfidence or inferiority complex. They think that the whole world is beautiful except himself or herself. They reel under a lot of guilt. They're never enjoying their life. They have their own problems. Everything they see as if it's a problem. Even these people are never happy or joyful. Only those people who possess the attitude of I am okay and you're okay. These are the people who actually live or rather create joyfulness in their life. So this is the attitude. So now you have to question yourself, where are you? Are you one, or you four, or two, or three? It is up to you. You need to understand your own attitude. So usually, many people tend to magnify the problems that they are undergoing. So this is one common human tendency. We all think we have so many problems. Even if it is a not a problem, we think it's a big problem. And we think that the hell is going to break open. But understand, in this vast, gigantic universe, how big are you? You're small. The earth itself is a small speck of dust. And on earth, you are a very, very small, negligible, insignificant being. So, if you are such a big, or rather such a small person, how big are your problems? So, whenever you get stuck up saying that I have a problem, visualize this picture and see where you stand. Maybe these kind of higher dots, they represent some big personality, but they are small speck. So you don't have to take your problem so seriously. As I told you, everything is passing, nothing is at a constant state. So even the problems that we are facing, they will also pass. So earlier we thought imagination is nothing but an act of creation. So the moment you start imagining, the reality will be starting. Like the very act of imagination is the first step in the act of creation. So as you imagine good things will start coming into your life. As you imagine negative things will start coming into your life. So your life is nothing but the fabrication of your own imagination. So for people to build a house, what they need to do, they need some material, building material, and they'll start creating it. But for creating reality, what we need, it is the imagination, it is the mind stuff. So take responsibility about your imagination. With your with the power of your imagination, you can create any situation that you desire. You can actually make life so positive just by imagining your life to be positive. Ed bhavam tad bhavati. Whatever you think it is, means whatever you think it is going to be. So that is the power of human imagination. So another way to be happy and joyful is to be in sync with nature. Today, there is lot of stress in our modern society because there is lot of disharmony between the nature and the man. Nature has got its own natural rhythms, but human beings, they have broken their relationship with nature. At personal level and even at a collective level, we have broken our relationship with nature and we are living a compromised life. So always wake up in synchronization with sun. So these days people, they sleep till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. What are they doing? They're actually breaking the cycles. So if you want to be really healthy, happy and joyful, you need to tightly embrace, hug Mother Nature. So the moment you start developing harmonious relationship with the nature around you, automatically the wellness in you will start sprouting. So this is one thing which we need to consider. So finally, I was talking about meditation. Meditation is the surest way where you can actually create eternal joy and happiness. There is no shortcut, I'm telling you. Everyday practice meditation for some time. Naturally, all the negative energies will subdue, and in place of negative energies, in place of negative things, positive things will start happening the moment you start meditating. And I've recommended that the length of the meditation should be proportional to one's age. If you're in mid-50s, meditate for 50 minutes at least. So this is another thing. Be on time, eat healthy and nutritious food. And finally, make love your primary nature. So this is about overcoming all the negativity in life and moving into the zone of positivity. So with this, we have completed our session on joyful living. You have any questions, you can ask. Any questions, please?
How to avoid expectations? We always expect others to do, others to do, others to do like this.
Yeah,
How to expect, how to avoid expectation from anybody else?
right. So last time also, I think you have asked the same question, right?
Yes.
Last
Because
time,
I find
yeah,
it is almost impossible to uh, develop the habit of non-expectation. Even though you're told, I tried to
yeah,
implement it, but somehow the other thing takes better of me.
yeah, okay. See, this is the power of habit. You got so much habituated to expect. Now you're finding it difficult to overcome it. But as a matter of reality, we can drop the expectations so drastically because I find it very easy. So depending on my interaction with people, I keep dropping expectations. For example, okay, if I see a person who is not very trustworthy, I say, okay, I don't expect anything from him. Even if he does good or bad, I'm dropping the expectation because I find it to be futile to develop expectation about something which is not going to materialize. So this is something which we can practice depending on our relationship with a person. Like, so with the closed one, maybe we'll have a lot of expectation. closed family members, closed colleagues, I think it is difficult to drop expectations from them. But outsiders, we can easily get away with expectations. At least in my case, I find that. With closed
No,
one,
this is, yes, carry on.
yeah, with closed one, it is difficult. But with practice, it is possible. Earlier, I used to have expectations from my wife, my son, but today I really don't have any expectation. Like whatever they behave, I feel it okay because I've completely accepted their uniqueness. The moment we start understanding their own distinct position, their own uniqueness in this world, maybe we will not start expecting from them much.
I think Mr. Venkatan Ramanan has to mute.
One second. Yeah.
But the problem in life is
Yeah.
we expect only from the close relatives and friends.
Right.
Closest relative is the person to whom we expect the most.
Right, that's true. So outsiders, it's very easy. We'll stop expecting from them. Okay. See, as a kid, I still remember. So whenever a guest comes to our house, I used to expect some gift from them, like some sweet box or something. So sometimes I used to be little annoyed when people come empty-handed. As a kid, it was a common thing for me, like. But over a period of time, I stopped expecting any gift or any kind of thing from the guest. So that is how it started for me. So there were expectations from my parents, my close family members, but maybe I started practicing it now. I really don't expect anything from my close family members also. I say, okay, fine. Even if they don't, it's fine. Like that, maybe I've developed a habit. Maybe you need to try that one. Like I can't say about it. Yeah.
Actually, we don't expect anything from others because we have developed the habit of
Yeah.
being cool,
Yeah.
so that we don't expect. But others expect something from us. When we don't, when we apply this habit, then it becomes a problem. They always expect something from us, always.
Yeah, because they're not trying. We need to educate them.
That is, again, we expect them to behave like us.
Yeah, yeah. See, just because we are growing doesn't mean that all people will grow along with us. So we need to have some kind of patience in this regard. So it's okay if they're not okay. Something like that.
I think we constant exposure to such spiritual talks and lectures will evolve as I feel, sir, because it can't happen in a day.
Right.
As you
Yeah.
said, it is constant practice that makes us better.
Yeah.
But we see the difference, but we definitely see the difference from what we were and what we are today.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
See, basically, when you develop a strong sense of detachment, that is when the expectations will start dropping out.
Yes, sir.
So I'm totally detached to certain things, so I don't expect anything. Whatever it is, I'll accept it.
So once,
Developing a
I
strong
think,
sense of detachment, I think, is the key to avoiding expectations.
Actually, I find good people become better, but difficult to make bad people good. We are.
Hello.
Do you hear me, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
I find good people are always becoming better by listening to such talks and trying to implement in everyday life.
Yeah.
But it is very difficult to make a bad man a good man because they neither listen nor understand nor like to become better.
I accept your point, understand your point. But see, it is like school admissions. In schools, what is the purpose of putting our child in a school? The purpose is to actually groom the person, whether it's a good
The
person
live.
or a bad person. So people will reject certain students saying that no, they are not good. That's a wrong approach. They should actually pick up those people who are not good and then they should train them up, because good people, even if they're not trained, they'll remain good. Same is the case in our approach also. So good people, anyhow, on their own, they can be good, better, best, whatever it is. But only those bad people, we need to actually try to address them. Of course, I told you it's not our responsibility, but maybe of karmic reasons they come into our infraction. So that could be that. The real challenge is about transforming a bad person into a good person.
And
And
moreover, sir,
actually, there's no exposure, sir. Actually, to be very frank and honest to myself, now
Okay.
Government of India is also making a change in education policy and all that. Such kind of knowledge should be imparted to everybody at every stage. Because
Right.
they don't know that such a value exists at all.
Right. Yes.
Nobody knows that such age. I know people, they don't mind being bad because they don't know what is good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
sir, my children used to say, I was serving in Satyasai University, sir, Puttaparthi,
Okay.
Anantapur. So
Okay.
there, this values and this is the kind of environment we were brought. We were exposed to. So when when I imparted, and even my father is from Ramakrishna Math, he grew up there. So such values, when we imparted to our children, they found it so difficult to mingle with the others because they found everything different.
Yeah.
And then they were getting a lot of bashings, or they were teased for that. So I found it very difficult to make them understand. At that particular age, they were too good, they were too innocent to understand the the cunningness of outside world.
Okay. Yeah,
So
these are all practical problems.
yes, and I feel they are only by practice. It takes some time. It's not so easily obtainable, but it is
Right.
doable with practice.
Yeah, that is there. That is there.
Constant. Yes, sir.
See,
Sir, I think you can give such lectures in schools, colleges, universities, and all that, sir.
yes, right. So Master Chalk, so he used to say, the path of spirituality is more like the travel in Amazon forest. Means you'll come across so many difficulties, but it's all about overcoming all these difficulties. It's not going to be a smooth kind of thing. The path of spirituality, you don't know what kind of situations you'll encounter.
I think very good one, sir. Travel in Amazon forest.
Yeah, right. Because
Full of
nothing
surprises.
is defined. Everything, every moment offers you a big surprise. Yeah. Any other comment?
If you enjoy everything, definitely the habit of non-expecting will happen, because another man does not do also, he can enjoy that.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Yes. Don't, and we can practice in the house also.
Right.
Doing everything by ourselves, automatically others will try to follow.
Okay.
Anyway,
So we have almost discussed 10 commandments about being joyful and happy in our life. So can we quickly summarize point by point?
my first point is don't expect.
Yeah. Drop your expectations to zero.
Yes.
Yes. Never compare yourself with others.
Yes. Mind without measure. Third,
Operate from soul point, not from ego point.
yes, means from the perspective of love, compassion, and kindness. Means your primary nature should be that of love, kindness, compassion, tolerance, not anger, hatred, other kind of things. Yes, this is the third thing. Fourth,
Start accepting people as they are.
yes, expectation. So this is somewhat similar to the first point.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, next.
Then detach yourself from the drama of life.
Yes, we should understand that we are living in the wheels of Maya. Only with the help of spiritual knowledge, we can actually dispel the darkness that was cast by the Maya. Only with pure knowledge, pure truth, we will be able to dispel the darkness that was cast on this Maya. So if you understand the spiritual truth of who you are, why you are here, what for you are playing this drama, you'll be detached from this drama of life. So detachment from the drama of life is another thing. Fourth point. Yeah, fifth point.
Don't take anything very seriously.
Yeah, this is part of this. When you're detached, you'll not take things seriously. You'll just watch it, observe it, but you're not moved by it. You're not pulled by it. Yeah.
Wakefulness versus dream state, both are illusionary. So,
Yes, this is
not-
again part of Maya.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, this is part of Maya. Fifth point.
Use inner power to change the outer reality.
Yes, we are all born with immense power, but unfortunately, we are not using our power. And instead of using our own power, we are actually giving our power to other people to handle it. And since it is not their power, they are playing with it, and we are actually the victims of their cruel game. So take back the power that you have given to other people. That is another commandment. Sixth,
Uh,
Be a master of and manager of your mind.
yes, you should be the master of your mind because all the misery is flowing from mind. So mind is something which is fickle. It is continuously generating trains of thought, and you're not actually managing your mind because you're allowing both positive thoughts and negative thoughts to play with you. So obviously you're dipping into some negativity without your consciousness. So be the master of your mind. Don't be the slave of your mind. That is the sixth commandment. And seventh,
Maybe don't be jubilant in indulging negative thoughts.
yeah, part of the same thing. Yeah.
uh, fabric fabrication of your own thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
Your reality is the fabrication of
Yes.
your own
Yes. Yes.
thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. So you're the person who is responsible for your life situation, whether it is a good situation or whether it is a bad situation, because you are actually creating the fabric of reality with your thoughts and feelings. So you need to be very cautious about your own thoughts and feelings because they are creating or weaving your future. So that is another important point. Eighth point.
The T's are thought, emotion, action.
Yeah, that again falls into the zone of mastering your mind.
And improve your karmic balance.
Yes. Be and live with karmic consciousness. Karma is not an event which you need to think about at monthly level or annual level. Karma, managing karma on daily basis.
Yes, sir. Change. And yeah.
Yes. And ninth one.
Detach your joyfulness from material things, people, and places.
This again goes into the previous things.
You spoke about the law of attraction.
Yes. Again, this is part of this thing, what you call imagination is your creation.
Oh.
We have explained it as a different slide, but again, it falls into the same thing.
Appreciate others.
Yes. That again falls into the other thing, like a soul perspective.
Yes.
Be in sync with nature.
Sir,
Hello.
please guide us, sir. Yeah.
Be in sync with nature,
Ah,
right?
be in sync with nature. Yes, sir.
Be in sync with nature means align yourself with the rhythm of nature, and that is very, very important.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And finally,
Yes, sir.
your degree of alignment with the Supreme Source is going to define or rather determine the degree of wellness in your life.
Your
This is something which I have not talked, but now I'm talking. Degree of alignment with the Supreme Source. How well are you connected to the divinity? So, people who are in total alignment with the Supreme Source, they experience total wellness in life. But people who are not in sync with the Supreme Being, they find life little different. So
Think
the
so.
degree of alignment is something which is going to determine our degree of wellness in life. So you can consider it as the 10th commandment. So in this, what we need to do is we need to align ourselves with the design of nature, with the will of divine. We should allow the divine to express himself through us. It will happen only when you are in perfect synchronization with the supreme source of reality.
This last point is so good, sir. Your degree of alignment with the Supreme
Right.
determines the degree of wellness in your life.
Right. So all kind of wellness can flow when there is perfect alignment between the Supreme God and your inner self. How we can actually develop this kind of thing? This kind of thing can be developed through a continuous practice of your spirituality. Means if you're continuously in sync with the name of God, automatically you tend to develop those divine qualities. For example, let me give an example. So we all know about magnets. So magnet, it is having attraction property. When you take a piece of nail, iron nail, it doesn't have any magnetic properties. It cannot attract anything. But if you keep the magnet and the iron nail together for some time, means if you allow the nail to stick to the magnet for some time, for a few days, after that, if you observe the behavior of that particular nail, you will be astonished that even this nail has developed certain magnetic properties. How did it come? It came through continuous association. Similarly, we human beings, we can also acquire divine qualities when we are attached to the spiritual gurus and to the Supreme God. The more you are attached, the more you tend to develop these divine qualities, the qualities that are that of the Supreme God and the masters. So how it is possible? So by continuously getting engaged with such entities, like through meditation, through chanting, through affirmations, if you're continuously trying to get engaged with the divinity, automatically over a period of time, you too tend to develop that kind of qualities, and that is how all kind of wellness can flow into your life. That is what is the degree of alignment with the Supreme God. So this is the 10th commandment, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So somebody told me when we chant a mantra, like
Mhm.
Buddhir Balam, Yesho Dhairyam, it is in praise of Hanuman. It
Okay.
doesn't mean that you are appreciating Hanuman. It is not that. The inner meaning is when you want to possess those qualities by chanting it, you acquire it.
Yeah.
So just it is similar to what you said now.
Right. That's true. Yeah. So I hope you will take all these 10 commandments of joyful living to your heart and practice throughout your life, and also preach people in your life about these qualities so that we can create a better life for ourselves and a better life for people around in our life. So
Definitely, we will do it.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a request, sir. Like how Gabriel sir is putting up one goal every day.
Okay.
whatever you have taught, can we use it as a thought for the day in our groups, so that it is
Sure,
a
definitely.
constant?
See, our groups are open groups. So people who wants to, other than the commercial advertisements, people
Yes.
who wants to put
No,
something good for
your
all.
own sayings, whatever you have taught us, it's like a constant reminder,
Right.
reinforcement of that.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. You can put it. You have
I
the
will-
liberty
I
of
will-
posting anything, non-commercial things.
Yes, sir. So I will
Okay,
send it to
Mr.
you, sir. You please correct it if there is anything not okay. And then I will post it as thought for the day every day in our groups, sir.
Yeah, sure. Mostly.
Your,
We can do that. We
your
can
own
do that.
sayings and teachings, so that, it is constantly getting reinforced in our minds.
Sure, definitely. We'll do it.
Yes, sir. Thank
Mr.
you.
Gabriel is doing every day.
Yeah. So we are almost at the fag end of our workshop. So we'll be concluding this workshop. I promise that I will have a regression session for during this workshop. So definitely I will fulfill it, but not this moment. Maybe some evening time we'll pick up. And
There
then
will be many
maybe,
participants.
yeah,
There'll be
before
many-
you go to bed, I want to do this regression so that after that you can have a very peaceful sleep. So I'll fix a day and I'll let you know. So you can attend that session, your past life regression. Okay. Thank you so much.
It's also a full time, sir. I mean, 2 hours job. Past life regression.
So it is mostly nothing but hypnosis. I'll be hypnotizing you.
Oh,
Yeah. So maybe 1 hour to 2 hours we can have. Just after your dinner, we can have it around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock.
I see.
So it's nothing, just a relaxation session. I'll be asking you to lie down and then I'll be taking you to deeper levels of your subconscious mind. And that's how you can get into this session. Okay. Okay. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
I hope
Thank you very much, sir.
together we
Thank
can
you
create
so
a
much,
better
sir.
life for each and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, master.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you all.